In this video, we're going to show you to install the vapor canister purge solenoid on your Hummer H3 located behind the driver's side rear wheel well. With the vehicle raised and supported, I'm going to go ahead and remove our center cap. You can use a flathead screwdriver or a trim tool, and you're going to come in right behind here and gently pry out and pop that off. Using a 19mm socket, I'm going to go ahead and loosen and remove our lug nuts. Go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. With the wheel removed, you now want to go ahead and remove this 10mm bolt, and there's normally a plastic push pin here. Ours is missing or broken, so go ahead and use a 10mm socket, loosen and remove this one. Now using your trim tool, you want to go ahead and remove the remaining plastic locking buttons. You want to go right here to the outer edge, and then you go underneath the top center portion and pop out the center. And pull it about 2/3 of the way, and then get behind the base and pull that out. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat this process. There's going to be a whole series of these around the inside of the fender liner. You want to go ahead and remove. Now moving to the front side, pretty much you just follow these around the fender well perimeter. And sometimes these buttons will come apart, not a big issue. They are keyed, so they're only going to pop back together one way. If you try and spin that around, it won't fit. So don't struggle with it. Now you're aware. One right here on the top. Sometimes these break. You just have to source some replacements if they do. In most cases, these are pretty durable. But I'll get this one here. All of our buttons are removed. Just now go ahead and drop the liner. We're going to start on the back section here. We're going to grab the fender liner, and you're going to flex your mud flap just a little bit, pull it out from behind that. Now the back section here is sitting on top of the frame, so now we have to pull the fender liner out towards you. Once it's off the frame, this literally drops down, pivot it out from behind the front bumper, and remove the liner. Now with the wheel well removed, we're going to go ahead and locate the solenoid right here. It's actually bolted to the side of the engine itself with a 10mm bolt. Now there are 3 different connections on this here. There's a tube right here, there's an electrical connector right here, and then just above the electrical connector is another tube. Now there's a process here to go ahead and do this. Sometimes it's easier to go ahead and remove this 10mm bolt. In our particular case, because these connectors can be stubborn, I want to go ahead and try to remove these before we unbolt it. Otherwise, this whole thing will be moving around and make it a challenge. Now, General Motors actually had some different connectors here. One of 4. This is the one of 4. So we're going to show you how to do this one here. The other ones you'll have to look up online to try and find if yours is different from this here. But what we're going to do is we're going to push in on this tab here, and we need to try and slide this back. And work that off. Now I'm just using a pick here. I'm also going to try using a flathead screwdriver here. So as I push on this tab, goes. Now there is a rubber O-ring on here that seals this. There's a collar right there it locks onto, and you can see that sliding back. There we go. All right, so that's separated. Now we have our connector right here. In most cases, you can just reach up here and you can kind of bend this little tab down and slide that connector off. Okay, now this one up here, this can be finicky as well. There's a clip on this here that has two tabs. There's one on each side. And sometimes if you press down on the top of it, it'll actually release the lock tabs and you can slide this off. Or using your pick, this has two sides to it. You can push that clip up and off from the top. It's a very tight area to work in here. I got one side already moved up here. You want to be careful not to break these. Sometimes you can get that pick up and over the top and push down on that tab, but once again, it's very limited for space here. So it's kind of a magic trick trying to get this. There it is. Now we're going to run a long extension in through the wheel well. It is easier to get some leverage outside the wheel well than it is inside. Now I am going to be reusing that bolt. So once I have that pretty close to coming out, I want to reach in and try and grab that. I don't want to drop that and lose it. Here it is. All right. Now here we have the bracket that the component is attached to, and it slides on. There's just two plastic sliders that you push that onto the bracket. Well, our bracket is pretty rusty, and it's kind of rusted to the point where the rust has swollen and expanded. So I'm going to put this in the vise. I'm going to go ahead and tap the unit off, and then I'm going to go ahead and clean up the metal so we can easily slide on the new component. There it is. So we're going to go ahead and run this through our wire wheel machine and maybe even grind it just a little bit to clean it up. We went ahead and cleaned up everything on here, get rid of all that flaky rust. If you want, you can go ahead and put a coat of spray paint or something like that on there to seal it up. Now what you want to do is you take your unit here, make sure that the gray port is facing towards the front of the vehicle, and our bracket itself bolts on here. So where the bolt goes through and the shelf comes out towards you. So you're going to take this unit, slide it on like so, and as you push it up and on, you're going to hear it lock in. There's a little spring clip on there. And our new part is on the bracket. Let's go ahead and install it on the vehicle. I'm just going to slide that in there like so. Get that lined up. And I'm going to grab my bolt. Now it's going to be great if you can reach in there and get that bolt started, a few threads. If not, you can always put it on the end of the extension and feed that in with one hand, and then with the other hand just kind of hold up that bracket. I'm going to try and make sure that my component and everything is nice and level. There we go. Once that bolt bottoms out, just make it snug. You don't have to make it super tight, but you definitely want to make sure that it's snug. Now what we're going to do here is I'm going to take some spray solvent and I'm going to spray it right in the port here. And line that up and push that on. There it is. Sometimes just the O-ring is a little bit dry, and a little coating of that spray solvent will help slide that in. And you can definitely hear that lock in and engage. It's exactly what we want. Grab that electrical connector, go ahead and line this up. Snap that in, make sure that's locked in. You can do the same thing on this one here. You can slide this back a little bit. I'm gonna maybe give that a little spray too, and make it easier for that to pop on. Oh, there it is. Now at this point here, we're able to pull it all the way on, and we heard our little connector snap onto place there. And at this point, we have this all installed. We're going to install our wheel well liner. And if you have a check engine light on, you want to go ahead and use a scan tool and properly clear that code. And then you can install that wheel, go for a road test, and you should be all set. Take the liner. We're going to feed the front end up in first. Now we'll go ahead and take the back. I'm gonna feed this up and in. And we basically just have to lift up this back section, push it up on top of the frame. Last section here, go ahead and fit this in behind your splash shield here. Now we're gonna reverse the procedure, install all of our plastic push pins, 10mm bolt on the splash shield and your plastic push pin there. Now at this point here, go ahead and install your 10mm bolt right here and put in your push pin. At that point there, you can go ahead and install your wheel. You can take your wheel, line it up on those studs, set it in place. We're gonna go ahead and get all of our lug nuts started by hand. Once they're all started, we're gonna go ahead and snug them down. I want to go ahead and snug these down in a crisscross pattern. We're now going to torque down our lug nuts to 103 foot-pounds. When doing this, you want to do it in a crisscross pattern. Grab your center cap. You want to line up this leg with the opening here in the wheel. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.